Hey, welcome back, everybody. If you've been paying attention and listening and watching this podcast for the last 4 weeks, you've noticed that money is not about just math and numbers. There's way more to it, as we've learned. It's about memories that we've had about money, emotions, and all the baggage that comes with it. And there's an additional component that we're going to talk about today called shame that we carry around with us. And if you have shame or anxiety around money, you are not alone. This episode, we are going to talk about tackling this anxiety and shame and learning about steps to overcome this shame. So let's go ahead and jump in and work on this together. Welcome, everybody, to the Money Strong Podcast, the show designed to help you build real confidence and control of your money. My name is Dr. Bryan Foltice, and I am your host and financial coach that's here to help you ditch your fear and grow your wealth with purpose. Whether you're paying off debt, building up savings, or just trying to stress less about money. If you find this episode helpful, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share it with somebody who's ready to get money strong too. Let's jump in to today's episode. First, financial anxiety and shame. So let's talk about these two things. And the reason we're talking about this today, and I'll try to get in and out of this quicker than normal because we've been kind of beating around the bush on this topic for the last 4 weeks. We're trying to round this out and before we move forward here. But this anxiety and shame, when I think about what that looks like, the best way I can articulate this is deferring to the show that my wife and I have now watched through the full series twice called Big Mouth. And so Big Mouth has these hormone monsters and hormone monsteresses that kind of demonstrate how you feel as you're going through puberty and as your body is changing. Well, in addition to the hormone monster and monstresses, they have the shame wizard, and they also have the anxiety mosquito. And these really articulate the feelings, the differences between the two, what anxiety looks like and feels like. That little mosquito that's really worried and just kind of talks real high and real stressful and just kind of planting bad seeds in your ear and always negative and just like what worst case scenarios, all these things. And you think about these anxiety mosquito. Well, in finances, are you going to pay for this? What are you going to do? I don't know if this is a good idea. Look what you've done. You've already made a disaster out of your finances. You're never going to be rich. You're never going to do this. But you can see that, right? So, yes and yes. We watch Big Mouth. So, it is what it is. It probably explains a lot about me. But that's what my wife and I like to watch. And we're not ashamed that we went through all 8 seasons twice. Probably do it again. The Shame Wizard is a little bit different, where it's not all high-pitched planting seeds. It's more of a gloomier guilt and kind of lower level. And of course, it's depicted in a voice as this real shameful, guilty British voice who loves to be guilty and just planting that seed of you're just not very good and you'll never do this. I am bad. I did something bad, and you're just a bad person for this. And of course, this when you make your bad decision with finances, kind of carries you, and so you have this shame that you carry. And what I see in my world of college students is a lot of these students are carrying this financial shame and anxiety. And they feel like they should know it all about their own personal finances and how much things cost and how to manage all of it. Well, and so what they do is they just kind of internalize it and they go, God, I feel like I know I should know this, but I don't. And so I just feel bad about it. And I don't want to talk about it. And obviously we know that that just kind of carries into adulthood, and the stakes get higher, the expenses get higher, and you go backwards, and you're still, through that whole process, you're carrying this anxiety and shame throughout the whole process. And what we're trying to say is, hey, stop. You're okay. You are not alone in this. And instead of trying to bury this shame and anxiety, let's go ahead and try to talk about it and try to resolve some of this. And I've noticed this with not just students outside of the business school who don't have a lot of finance coursework. I noticed this also with my finance students who have had the coursework, who have taken all of the finance courses, and so they feel an extra pressure that I should know how this would work, but they don't, and so they try to avoid confronting this and move on. And that's why I've tried to create an environment where everybody feels comfortable, where everyone is okay to ask that question, because when somebody asks the question that they think is stupid, they realize that everybody else in the class was dying for somebody to ask that question, and we're so relieved that somebody else did it. And so understanding that we've been taught these different things, and again, it kind of comes back to this theme that I've been talking about of, hey, let's not avoid it, let's just address it, and let's work through this together. And that's where we've seen even students that come from all different backgrounds, they all say the common theme of, I'm a broke college student. And it probably feels like everybody is. And instead of beating them up saying, yeah, you're broke, you don't have any money, have a more sensitive understanding or approach to that, going, yeah, of course. Why would we expect you to be rich? Because you are just getting done with school. You are doing a lot of these financial decisions on your own for the first time. So let's give ourselves a little grace and mercy on our financial decisions. Because by the way, when you become 44 years old, you're going to still make some bad decisions, and you're still going to need to give yourself some grace and mercy and not beat yourself up for it. All right, so I said we're going to keep going. I want to give you some steps that we're going to take to try to overcome this. Just give you a visual, some frameworks and some guidelines around this. Some of it's a bit redundant from the last time if you've heard these other episodes, but again, we're just trying to systematically give you a list of things to think about if you're really going through this. Number one, think about what is actually giving you the anxiety or guilt. So this name it to tame it kind of thing, understanding what that is in order to tame this issue. You really have to identify or acknowledge what you're feeling and figure out some of those triggers. And so some of these triggers. So as I'll talk about in the next episode, I had to go back and name it to tame it and go, what the hell did I just do? Or why was I spending so much money? Is it more than just, it was a bad luck, or just a perfect storm of the expenses that are kind of random, or was there something deeper going on? And we'll talk about that later. Number two, remove judgment. So let's get the trigger. We know the trigger. We've named it. We know what it is. And let's just remove judgment. This kind of comes down to, how do we talk to ourselves? And do we talk to ourselves like we talk to our friends? Or do we talk to ourselves like we're our own worst enemies? I'll let you decide that. I know for a fact myself that for 42 years of my life, until the last couple of years, I did not speak to myself well. I tried to talk to myself like a very harsh coach and trying to motivate myself through beating myself down mentally. And I'm so happy that it, better late than never, right? That I finally realized what I was doing and changed, because there's no way if somebody's out there working on something that I would tell them, hey, yeah, that's fine, but you'll never be good enough, or you couldn't have done that 10 years ago. So talk really negative and sarcastically to yourself. So again, remove the judgment. Talk to yourself like you would talk to your friends or your family members if they're trying to work through something. Be encouraging to yourself. Number 3, as we're addressing this trigger or whatever it is, think about what it's going to take in small steps to work through this or improve this the next time. So if we have that awareness of what it is, what are we going to do the next time this comes up? Or how are we going to tackle this? If you don't want to look at your bank account or open up your credit card statements because you're afraid of what you're going to do, what is that little thing that we can do to change this anxiety or change that trigger? So for some of you, it's just saying, hey, I'm going to look at my bank account once a day or once a week, and I am going to write down a plan on how I'm going to either work through the debt or how I'm going to build up my first $500 to $1,000 worth of savings, try to build a plan and work towards executing that and overcoming it. So we have this, try to have a little shift. So a small shift that can have a significant impact would be step 3. And then from step 3, we're going to make it a ritual. We're going to try to build habit. And this is where motivation is fine for a little while, but it'll wane. So we have to build a system that if you do say, I'm going to look at this every day, well, now we know in our system, I am going to have a ritual of having my cup of coffee, checking this account, working through it, and then moving on with my life. But at least it's built in. And sometimes if it's a bigger picture, sometimes it's looking at your finances or your expense tracking at a larger level, maybe once a week. And every Sunday morning, I'm going to wake up, take a look at my expenses, how I did, and then move forward, reflect on it, and address it. But this is all going to be in the name of reducing our anxiety and our shame around finances. But building that, you'll start seeing this extra confidence popping up, and you're going to start building, start walking taller. This is coupled with talking to yourself better about this, about your money, how you're doing, and all of this starts building momentum in a positive direction. And it eliminates that mosquito, and it banishes that shame wizard back into the closet. Number 5, if this is something that you are totally overwhelmed and you just have, it's a deeper sinking feeling that's a little bit deeper than a little mosquito or a wizard running around. It's like to your core, it is really hurting you. Step 5 is trying to find some support and trying to find some help around that. And so I'm going to go ahead. There's a couple of links that I'll post in the description here that will hopefully give you a little bit of resources. I know at Butler, we have our own support system of one-on-one advisors that are alumni that are helping students with that one-on-one help, just so we know that we're not having to do this alone. So finding a counselor who's trained in doing this, if it's definitely there, but let's not avoid it any longer. Let's tackle this head on. You are not alone in doing this. We're all in this together, trying to improve our finances wherever we're at. But part of this, as we're capping off our section on financial well-being, on giving us the tools to control our finances, this elimination is a huge, huge component that is not only setting us back if we avoid it in our own finances, this is setting us back in our overall life well-being. And life is too short to avoid this and not work on improving. All right, so I'm going to post a couple of things. This financialtherapyassociation.org is the website I'm going to point you to. The Money Strong program, moneystrong.net, is the website that you can get access to the Money Strong program. You can also go to Bryan Foltice, BryanFoltice.com to find the financial budgeting software, the monthly financial planning software, spreadsheet. It's there for free. Go ahead, grab it. I don't even think I have it set up to grab your email address yet to put you on a mailing list. So take it while it's totally free, no strings attached, and let's get to work on this. And let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Would love to hear from you, and hope to be with you on the next episode when I talk about my terrible own money mistakes and how I'm dealing with it. So we'll see you next week. Hope you have a great day. We'll talk to you later.